Welcome to the 12 Days of Edition Wars, featuring 2nd edition AD&D players and DM options books. In this special series, Brandis and I are taking a close look at these special books that are often considered D&D Edition 2.5. On the first day of Edition Wars, my DM gave to me Skills and Powers, Part 1.
In a pear tree.
Brandis. In a pear tree, yes. Some of these things would have served better in a pear tree.
So when Skills and Powers came out, like a lot of people, I'd been playing 2nd edition for a few years, and I was about 15. I was around 15 when I picked this up, and had plenty of time to love it for its really intensive character customization. But friends, it still had more character customization than I could figure out how to employ. And that is saying something, because I had nothing but spare time.
So I found it really interesting in preparing for this episode. I actually read the forewords that the authors wrote. Doug Niles and Dale Donovan wrote these forwards. And basically, it's been a long time since I've read the forwards of these books, if I even read them ever before. Really, they are focusing on the fact that the idea here is to give people more choices. And yeah. I think if that's the main goal, they succeeded.
I definitely agree. 2nd edition classes are, other than the thief, are significantly light on internal customization. You pretty much get what the class gives you, and maybe that is some extra proficiency slots here or there, but mostly on a mechanical level, Fighter Alice and Fighter Bob look awful similar. Mm-hmm. And on some level, Skills and Powers is trying to put that to rest, and in a similar way, Combat and Tactics wants to make sure that their round of actions doesn't look the same.
Yep.
And that's an interesting set of goals, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, one of the ways...
What that winds up accomplishing, I think, is another question.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is one of the ways that they attempt to accomplish such a feat is they introduce the concept of character points. And they create a setup where you use so-called character points, CPs, to build your character. You start with a certain number of points, and you spend those points on skills and powers, which I guess is aptly named. And then after each session, instead of, but it sort of depends on the DM, how the DM wants to do it. But really, everyone is supposed to gain 3 to 5 character points when they increase in level, and then they spend those points on things that they would like to buy, skills and powers that they would like to buy for their character.
Right. Weapon proficiencies, right. Non-weapon proficiencies,
exactly.
That kind of deal.
Right. And, of course, the book also then includes a ton of different options. It also includes multiple methods for rolling your ability scores. It includes the ability to include a character background with, it has this interesting background event table right in the very beginning of Chapter 1. And, you can roll on this table and find that your PC was homeless or enslaved or accused of a crime or, made a powerful enemy at some time previously. And, from the modern perspective, I don't know how innovative this feels. But back in 1995,
to be honest with you,
go ahead.
I was going to say it looks to me a lot like a lot of the D6 or D8 tables that we're seeing more and more in every new background.
Right.
Like especially if you go to the sections of Saltmarsh and Descent into Avernus and Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron, where they're showing you how to really link each background to the setting, you see a lot of these like D6 and D8 tables of events in your life to help you build a backstory. And I want to say Xanathar's Guide, with its section on random character generation, sort of has a lot of the same feel to it. So I think it's not too bad. I think that the suggested non-weapon proficiencies isn't really serving anyone all that well.
Right.
But other than that, it's okay.
I mean, I guess my thought about it was, nowadays this seems kind of, well, of course somebody's going to have an interesting background, and they're going to try to have their background and relate it to the character that they want to play, and et cetera, et cetera. But back in 1995, that wasn't necessarily the mindset of the average player, although for sure some people, yes. But in terms of even the sort of the brown cover books, the player's handbooks, right? The complete guides with all the kits and whatnot. Those always offered suggestions, but it wasn't really, if I remember, and I could be misremembering, it wasn't really codified for any of those classes how to select a background that was appropriate to what you wanted to do. It just sort of assumed, hey, I want to play a samurai. You're going to pick a background that matches a samurai's background. Or, hey, I want to play a cleric who, lost faith in their god and switched deities. And so you're going to pick a background that's appropriate to that. But it didn't really present it in this way, I guess.
Yeah, I think this has going for it the intrusion of something unexpected as a spur to creativity.
Right.
And that really works for some people and really doesn't for others. And hey, nothing's for everybody. That's why, especially now, all of the random tables of events in your life are going to say, roll or choose.
Right.
Kind of thing. And also, you can just choose something not on the list if you have an idea you like more. They just want to feed you some prompts for your creativity. And that's really what this is. Because, this says roll or choose. And that's fine.
Yeah.
So I think the character point system that this book is here to introduce really, really shows us sort of the designers responding to the 90s as they happened. Right?
That's a great way of putting it.
Hey, man, like they're actually engaging with other stuff that's going on in design. Like you look at the second edition Player's Handbook, it released in '89. It's much less responsive to other things going on in design because D&D hasn't seen an actual challenge to its supremacy in '89. That challenge to its supremacy is going to happen just a couple of years later, coming out of practically my hometown, not quite, but nearly, Stone Mountain, Georgia, as White Wolf doesn't unseat D&D as the most popular game by any means, but it figures out how to draw in a market of gamers that D&D didn't even recognize to exist.
Right. Almost, you could say, preferentially ignored.
Arguably, for sure. By the time I was gaming, the people I was around definitely saw it as two different great ways to have fun. But the World of Darkness system, with its system of dots and experience points to buy more dots in all kinds of things, it's certainly not the, we're going to quote you a build cost for every individual feature that you see here, but it's not that far off either because of how merits work in World of Darkness games. Merits are fairly close to all the stuff you have going on with different race and class features at different costs. So, I mean, it's a build point system, as D&D has never really engaged with before this book, and I can't help but see it as a response to World of Darkness and maybe also GURPS and other games in those veins, that while they weren't, again, unseating D&D, they were
offering competition.
They were the significant challenge, such as it was, right? And in principle, I've always loved a build system, and all the LARPs that I'm involved with are build systems in one form or another. But it's interesting that D&D has dabbled with it a few times, but always rejected it for a class and level system.
How do you feel about? Because I mean, you're kind of you're mentioning the idea of changing how many dots you have in different attributes and whatnot. How do you feel about what this book does with the sub abilities? It introduces strength, and then it has because on one hand you're saying, well, they had a significant challenge, and that challenge was coming from this sort of these sort of more story game kind of systems where you're using a point build thing because you can do that within the constraints of that system, and it works relatively well, and you can still have abilities and attributes and et cetera, et cetera. But D&D, you can't just sort of clamp onto the outside of that. So but then they sort of introduce these extra sub abilities. Like there's not only strength, there's also stamina and muscle that tell you about fatigue versus weight carrying allowance versus how much strength and damage you can do and that sort of thing. And then there's what is it? Dexterity has aim and something else. What it balance? Aim and balance. And so they sort of it's like this competition was coming from these sort of more story focused games, and in response, part of it they created a mechanical way to change your character by doing this character points and trying to point by everything. But then they also added more statistical minutia because they added these sub abilities, which goes counter to the more story based. It's like they said, yes, let's go more story based and more point build and all that. But oh, by the way, we also want to make strength more granular and add stamina and muscle, and you also still have an overall strength score, and that runs counter to, it seems like, what that comparison you're making. It's almost like someone said, let's do some of that story stuff, and we'll do this point by stuff, and we'll throw in this background stuff where you might have been a criminal, and we'll suggest some things. Oh, but let's also increase these statistical things because we still want some of our players to buy this book.
Yeah, I again, I recall engaging with the very small player community that I had when these books came out, and I recall that there was a subset of my gaming group. So we're talking about a subset of 6 or 7 people. Just it's a niche audience, folks. There was one guy at the table, let's call it what it was, who really did have a thirst for that level of customization and really wanted to engage deeply with the system mastery that it made possible, that it rewarded. like everyone with any sense, he was going to gleefully tank his stamina score and crank his muscle score as far up as
Of course he was. Because of course. Yeah, because of
get
course.
out of here, right? Right.
Right.
That's what bonuses are,
I mean,
folks.
we just had that conversation about the 18 percentage in our last episode, one of our most recent episodes. It's sort of like, of course, it feels great to roll that and get really high stats. Well, of course, you're going to increase your muscle up the wazoo.
But yeah, like it's so nitpicky, and it's a whole mindset of the game that I have just trended away from so hard in the last okay, fine, 26 years.
It's a long trend
as a trend line over my 26. Well, it's the direction I've been kind of moving over most of that time, and don't get me wrong, I found some of the customization options of early third really engrossing, and it just took a few scant years of the 3.0 production glut to show me that maybe someone had made a terrible mistake, and that mistake was not ameliorated in 3.5. Though again, I love 3.5 when it came out, just in some different regards. But there is an audience for extreme customization of all sorts of different kinds, and I look at this as very much in the vein of the fourth edition player who says, well, look, I see that I'm proficient in athletics, and I understand that covers both climbing and swimming and jumping. I'm fine with my character being great at climbing and jumping, but I come from a desert culture. I've never seen water deep enough to swim in. I don't think I should be good at that. Space, and I think the game should pay me for saying so.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's, not to veer too wildly off topic, that's the big trade-off of 4th Ed's whole skill dynamic as opposed to the 3rd edition skill point system, which again is another of our prior episodes. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot of conversational interest to be had about sub abilities and sub ability checks. They kind of do what they do, and it's just a way to be 1 or 2 points better at this flavor of the thing, as opposed to being good at the other flavor of the thing. And like, I guess God bless the DM who is going to have enough weightlifting challenges that stamina looks like a good buy as compared to muscle. You know what I mean?
Here's the real deal with this, though, because then they do it with all the attributes, right? So there's intelligence gets reason and knowledge, constitution gets health and fitness, dexterity, aim and balance, strength is stamina and muscle, and then wisdom is intuition and willpower, right? And so here's my thing. Of course, then what does charisma get? Oh, charisma gets leadership, right? Oh,
leadership and appearance.
Yes, right. So
because they have to slide comeliness back into the game.
Yeah, of course. So here's my thing about this. If you're playing this game, that's a really different game than everybody else that was playing 2nd edition at the time, right? Yeah. That's a really different game. If you use this book and you use character points and you are actually building it the way that this is suggesting, and I don't mean that as a comment on the quality of it or whether it's good or bad. I just mean the actual mechanics in this book make you play a different game than second edition. That's why it's considered 2.5.
I think that saying that the sub-abilities make that happen is
No, not just
a
them.
bit reaching.
Yeah, not
Once
just
you get
them.
into the rest of what's in this book,
Right.
no question.
Right. Yes.
No
No,
question at all.
I didn't mean to imply just that. I mean all of it. That's just the beginning of it. You learn about character points, you get a little thing on backgrounds, and then you learn that the abilities have completely changed. I mean, well, you add a ton of abilities, right? And then you go into all the other stuff. That just leads right into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's definitely here to be sort of a ground up rebuild of the character creation section by any standard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most of this book is going to offer. It's not until we get to quite late in the book that it's not pretty straight up just the character creation section. Let's take it from the top. Though you get the whole equipment section over again. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So the next chapter up is racial requirements, and it may come as no surprise to frequent listeners to this show that I have little but scorn for the whole dynamic of the racial level limit. I'm no fan hereof, and
it's also no mystery that I have a great deal of scorn for for those caps and the racial limits.
I mean, talk about going out of your way to make the half orc unappealing to play. But their best class has a level cap at 10, and that's a fighter. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Throw me a frickin' bone here, will ya?
Yep. Yep. I mean,
but half elves, oh no. Not only do you get unlimited progression as a bard, they also have 16th level progression as a ranger.
I find it
luxury.
I find it hilarious that they put bard as unlimited. Like, really? Everybody's running around playing half-elf bards? I don't... Okay.
Well, they want them to.
Well, that's right. Exactly. Well, that's my point, right? They will be now if they follow the sort of the way this is nudging you.
Right. But apparently, half elves can be better rangers than elves can be wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Just reasons.
Right.
Just reasons. Reasons that are not going to be at all supported in the actual text, because, like, Forgotten Realms at the same time over in the Arcane Age system has to develop this whole beautifully mad system for explaining why its elves are allowed to advance to ever higher levels in the wizard class, while the rules say they can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole thing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, dwarves can't do anything. Well, so here's the thing. The dwarf in here cannot be a paladin.
No.
And...
Come on, Sam. Nobody can be a paladin unless they're human.
I'm just saying, right?
God help me if I can tell you why.
If you want to talk about the sort of prototypical dwarf, it was gruff, stout, hardworking, and lawful good. Like, highly honorable culture. But they can't be paladins. There's no...
Their gods just don't ordain paladins.
There's just no good reason. I mean, that's the thing.
I agree. That's the best I can do. Like, I agree.
Okay, well, let's move on then.
It's just it's such a weird perspective now, right?
Yeah.
Because it started by sort of clothing itself in the terminology of game balance. Well, if you let someone be an elf who's a paladin, they'll be overpowered compared to a human who's a paladin, because humans don't get any features.
Right.
And your solution to that isn't give the humans a feature.
Right. It's Yeah,
Okay.
it's the opposite. It's, well, let's restrict what other races can do then.
Right. And like humanocentric settings, settings where there's really intense pressure to play humans and everyone else is going to be marginalized. That's an increasingly bad look in the year of our Lord 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And one that I think
it was a bad look in 1995 when this was published, actually.
I think that's fair. I think
even by then it was starting to be a really bad look, and it does not look good on this book either.
I think that it was sort of more understandable as a, well, we're bound to our legacy, fine, kind of thing in 95. Dated, but okay.
Yeah.
But every passing year makes it look a little worse.
Right.
But the interesting thing about this section that I don't want to get lost is that Half-Orc and Half-Ogre are just races right here. They're just playable races right here in this alternate character creation of the player's handbook. That's not a thing in second edition. There are no half-orcs in the second edition player's handbook. There are no half-ogres in the second edition player's handbook.
What about deep gnomes?
There are also none of those. There are also no gray dwarves playable in the second edition player's handbook. You should count yourself lucky that hill and mountain dwarves are represented. Aquatic elves, you say? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Dark elves just right there out in front of God and everybody. And so what this book is doing that's really nice is that it is really enormously expanding the definitions of those races, like what they do and what they're sort of about. If you really can't stand sub races, and I think there are good reasons to feel just uncomfortable with even the word sub race, then fair, super fair, but that was not part of the common gaming understanding. It was not part of TSR's understanding in 1995, and but introducing half-orcs is interesting to even see here. They get mighty short shrift. Mighty short shrift.
You think so?
Well, yeah, their racial abilities are infravision 60 feet, languages, and another 5 points to spend somewhere? Is it?
Yeah, it's
5 more points to spend.
They get to choose 5 or 10, depending on Yeah. So they can get an active sense of smell, an acute taste, an attack bonus, a damage bonus, a fitness bonus, infravision, mining detection abilities, or a stamina bonus.
Yeah, so setting them up as sort of animalistic unless they are a little bit dwarven in their outlook, that is weird. It does at least kind of gesture vaguely in the direction of the story that orcs and dwarves fight this war underground all the time. But yeah, I mean, half-orcs are just underpowered by any standard in the world. And I don't think there are too many ways to read their racial level limits being as tight as they are as anything other than the game trying to steer you away from them because they don't really see them as suitable PCs. They're just sort of grudgingly allowing them, and these people aren't really good enough to be people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
not that half ogres have
and then
any better.
and then later in that chapter, then they talk about monstrous character races, right? And they also have level limits, and some of yes,
many of which are far more generous.
That's true. Some of them, and then some that are much worse. A full ogre, non-half ogre, can be 3rd level if they're a priest.
Hey, at least they can get to 12th level.
Right, it's better than the half orc.
Unlike the half orc. I mean, even the bullywug, when you break it down, is actually faintly more generous than the half orc. That is how short of shrift the half orc is getting in this book.
Well, look at the centaur.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I want to be a centaur. A centaur druid.
Yeah. They have it going on. Yeah. And, they still have, they're still fairly constrained just by what level limits are, but it looks great compared to most of these guys. Whoa. I mean, well, look at the orc. Like, here we see that the half-orc is just the worst of both worlds. It is not even a midpoint between the orc's limitations and the human's absence of limitations. It is just worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a heck of a choice. That is a heck of a choice.
So here's my sort of last thought on this. I find some of the choices very interesting with respect to level limits and whatnot. However, I also think that it's really interesting that they included so many alternative monstrous races. I find it very interesting because I think that
I definitely agree.
This is one of those places where they kind of hit that mark, that thing I mentioned in the beginning of, their goal was to just provide choices. Now, they didn't necessarily hit it out of the park with every single race, but they went a long way toward allowing for a wide sort of array of different races that you could possibly play. And have a relatively viable character, at least for a few sessions.
For sure. And a bunch of these I recall seeing earlier in 2nd edition in a book, the name of which is escaping me. It's not Monster Mythology. It's a different one of the brown cover books. But yeah, it offered a lot of these in one form or another.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are things that book offered that didn't make it. It didn't make the cut here, like the Firbolg and the Pixie. And it's interesting just to see what they favored and what they didn't. It's still kind of fascinating to me that the Githzerai makes it in as a player option here, but not the Githyanki. And I think they were sort of more pointedly casting Githyanki as villains, but a lot of the races in this list get cast as villains, so what's the deal?
Yeah.
Why stop there?
Some of the choices were definitely interesting. I wonder if it was a space consideration.
I mean, they must have had some sense of, we think this will not be quite popular enough to make the cut somewhere. Hard to know where.
Well, yeah, but they put mongrel men in here too. I mean,
I'll tell you, man.
Anyway. All right. Well, do you have any final words? I think that'll be the end of the first day of Christmas.
Yeah, I think that about wraps me up for our first part on skills and powers. I feel firmly lodged in this here pear tree.
Excellent. Do you know what we're going to get for the second day of Christmas?
It's 2 turtle doves.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well,
And a partridge in a pear tree. You get a new partridge in a new pear tree every day. That's what the song says.
And the partridge. In anticipation of that, I think I'm going to say goodbye, and we will see all of our listeners next time.
Thank you very much, everyone. I've been Brenda Stoddard, and with me, as always, is my excellent co-host, Sam Dillon.